Alvin. And yes, Uller is not feeling well. He had jumped in the car just before it was taking off, wanting to come, and then had a split-second change of heart and said he wanted to go back to the shop. So, can you all hear me out there? Can you hear me? All right, I am Alvin Gozer. This is my first Tuesday group, and the last time I gave any intimate speech to this, or a speech to an intimate little crowd like this, was defending my thesis in 2014, and I was definitely more nervous. I don't know, now or then. It's been a while. Anyway,
you got a thesis?
I did a thesis, yeah. Well, the thesis is called A Haptic Geography and How It Feels to Be Outward Bound. It was a focus on the tactile and emotional connections outward bound students have while going out on an expedition. So moving through the environment in a different way for most adolescents is enlightening and challenging at the same time. So that was the thesis. I am originally from Omaha, Nebraska. I came up to the cities, moved up to the cities in 2012, and then worked outward bound in Twin Cities, and moved up to Ely with Outward Bound for their winter, called their Wintern program, where you're a new, you're an intern learning about the winter programs that Outward Bound has. So dog sledding, cross-country skiing, and completely different set of skills that are needed, especially when it's 30 below and you are managing 7 students and 12 dogs. Exciting, challenging, but at the same time, big learning curve for me. As Elton said, we are my wife, Alexia. She would love to be here. She's sorry she's not. And of course, Uller would have loved to be here too.
Did you meet at Outward Bound?
We met at Outward Bound. She, Alexia, was the
Make it up.
yeah, she worked for Earlham College in Richmond, Indiana. Earlham is a liberal arts Quaker college. It has a long history with Outward Bound. She was the outdoor ed coordinator, so she had brought her students that year for them to go out on their dog sledding course. She stayed on base. We met. Long story short, we fell in love, and we are now here, have a 3-year-old, own property, and live in a yurt. And just this past February, we became the owners of Ely Bike and Kick Sled. Some faces here who have brought their bicycles in for tuning and upgrading and a little bit of seasonal love. So it's good to see some familiar faces. Hope to see everyone else coming in with a bike or to get a bike for your prolonged health and happiness.
Tell me about kick sleds.
Kick sleds.
Yeah, I know it. I know of bikes. I think I got 18 of them. Some of them you can put air in the
Okay.
I have no idea.
Kick sleds. So traditionally, kick sleds are a Scandinavian. It's essentially a chair on. It's essentially a chair on runners, and it's used. It was and still is used by. It's used for going to the market, going out to ice fish, going on ski trails for exercise. But traditionally, it was just to get to the market in the winter through the snow.
Oh, the runners steel.
Yeah. So what we sell is a brand named Esla. They're made in Finland. They have a spring steel runner with a plastic a plastic runner that the steel clips into. And it makes it a lot easier to get on a variety of different surfaces, snow surfaces, whether it's slush or powder or hard pack. And it's also very fun to put your dog or attach your dog to pull instead of kick sled. It ups the adventure.
The fronts are, you got a little steering.
Yeah, it's there's a handlebar which is attached to the back of the chair. Essentially, it's very easy to maneuver and steer. You can kick, of course. You put one runner, kind of like being on a skateboard.
So you're standing behind the chair.
You're standing behind the chair and you're kicking.
You put your groceries on the chair.
You can put your groceries on the chair. You can put them in a basket that would fit on one of the rungs.
You can put your kid or
You can
someone
put
on the chair.
You could put your 3-year-old on the chair or 10-year-old. They come in all different sizes and colors. They're made from sustainably harvested birch in Finland, relatively inexpensive, and offer a pretty
How much would they weigh typically?
20 pounds,
Oh,
maybe less. Yeah. So that has been a wonderful thing to have with the bike shop at Easy Bike and Kick Sled, especially for the winter. Pandemic has really put it's put a lot of challenge with getting bike products these years, the last couple of years. So fat bikes have been a challenge. Just bikes in general have been a challenge to obtain. So the kick sleds have been a great backup and a great support, especially when we just opened. But now that we're getting bikes in and trying to put them together in time.
How about the outings that you plan? I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so we have quite a few different outings on a monthly. The first Saturday of every month, I do a bike pack overnight. So you pack your camping gear on your bike and we go out any given route. This Saturday, we're going out the Bush Tree Trail, up the Prospector, camp at a site, and then go on to do what's called the Spruce Loop. So off the Spruce Road, there's a 16-mile loop, pretty much ATV trails, and it can pop you out on Highway 1 and then go back to Spruce. The other is Monday night mountain bike rides at 6 o'clock. We'll meet at Hidden Valley. Thursdays, odd weeks will be road rides, and then even weeks will be gravel rides. And then Alexia will be doing a Saturday morning women's mountain bike at Hidden Valley. And there's also community rides that were part of our fundraiser, and that people have paid to support our fundraiser, and that allows them to go on a community ride with Alexia. It's just a fun little trip, probably around the Trezona, and that will take place usually on Tuesday nights and meet back at the deck, which is next to the surplus store for live music and possibly adult libations.
You have a website where people want to further check out all of these things?
Yes, EasyBikingKicksled.com is the website, and you'll find all the information there. Alexia has been nonstop working on improving the website to how many bikes we have, what bikes we have, products. We're going through a different computer system. So all this has been taking a lot of time, in addition to bikes being serviced and bikes being put together, and then just redesigning the whole interior of the shop to kind of give it a little new life and some zest.
Well, before you transition away from Alvin, I was just gonna ask, or at least provide the opening for you to talk about or let people know that to ask you about some of your big bike trips that you've done.
Yes. Alexia and I share pretty deep passion for bicycle touring. My first bike tour, I was 21, 1990, I think, 1990. And I had bicycled from Washington State, just north of Seattle, to Key West, Florida. Yeah, that bike ride was really kind of changed my path and what I wanted to do in my life. It exposed me to the countryside. It gave me an opportunity to fully engage all of my senses in my environment. It's super easy to do when you're on a bicycle. You can just hop on, you can go where no car can go, generally, and meet people. So that first trip was 5,600 miles. I did it to raise money and awareness for the Rise Syndrome Foundation. That was, so Rise Syndrome is a disease that killed my sister. 1972, she was 17, I was 3. So the next bike ride I did was from Omaha to Colorado, unintentional stop and stay for a year in Colorado. I was supposed to go to school in California, but I stopped on my bike in Colorado and stayed for a year in Breckenridge. Then biked from Breckenridge to Kansas. Alexia and I did a great bike ride from, she actually left from Richmond, Indiana, and bicycled up to the Great Lakes and then over to Buffalo, where I met her, and then we biked from there to Bar Harbor. Another great study trip. The Adirondacks were fantastic. And then the last, more recent, I should say, trip was a trip that I was really, or at least a route that I was inspired when I was 7. World Magazine, which is published. It's a kids magazine by National Geographic. So World Magazine did an article on 3 guys who biked from Alaska to Argentina. I thought, I'm going to do that. So I kind of broke in doing that first bike ride from Washington to Key West. And many years later, I decided I'm going to do this bike ride from Alaska to Argentina. So I left Dead Horse, Alaska, which is up in the Arctic, Prudhoe Bay, on June 3rd, 2017, and biked through Alaska, BC, Yukon, had to take a ferry because there were over 400 fires burning.
Good, have to speed this up.
We have to have you come back.
Columbia.
Yeah, good.
All right, so anyway,
Okay,
Alexia and my dog met me in Vancouver, Washington. We biked down to Baja, California. We didn't make it to Argentina. Some road bumps.
Good start.
Yeah, so I have about 11,000 more miles to go, and I will do that when Uber is probably around 10. He's a pretty avid cyclist now, so thank you for your time.
Favorite toy. Trucks. Stop into the bike shop and watch Uber with his trucks.
What does Uller mean? Uller is the Norse god of winter. So you can thank him for this.
Uber. Okay, I'm gonna go with the other working stiff in our crowd today, who I just met yesterday, and Sophie Newton was gracious to say yes, because Alvin, David Casey was going to do this, and he threw his back out, so he's not going to be leading the bike for a while for you. But so here we have Sophie. Where are you from? And how this happened?
I am Sophie. I am new to Ely as of a year and a half ago, October 2020. I moved up from Duluth I was living and working there I also went to school there at UMD, the Bulldogs, for 5.5 years. The pandemic hit, and like just about everyone else, kind of reevaluated my life.
Hold your mic up.
Yes, thank you. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, so pandemic hit, kind of reevaluated priorities, my lifestyle, everything like that a little bit. Quit my job in Duluth, and the next day came up and visited my childhood best friend, Karina Herrera. Shout out to her. She is the art director at Du Nord. I believe she has also another title that I don't know, so apologies.
Ely Art Walk Director.
Yes, yeah. So she helped out with that. I've known her since we were in diapers. Her and her husband, Spencer. Spencer works at the Bear Center in town. Came up to visit them for a long weekend just to get away, clear my head a little bit. Was only supposed to stay for about 2 or 3 days and wound up staying for 10 because of their very gracious hospitality. I left Ely and immediately started trying to find a way to make this place my home. So 2 months later, I was moving in. I stayed with Carly Peter, who I actually took her job. She wanted to leave, which is okay. She was looking for new things. So lived with her for a month and now work at Wintergreen, Northern Wear. I'm the retail manager there and having a really good time. It's a really fun environment to work in. Really great staff, really great customers. I got to talk to some of the coolest people around the world in, whether they've had their stuff for 1, 2, or 20 years, or they're going on this crazy adventure. It's been really fun transition here. I found the Ely community to be very, very welcoming. It's been really fun to slowly kind of find my own pace and wavelength in the community. So,
What other interests do you have?
yeah, I really enjoyed the outdoors like everyone else, I would say here. I have yet to get into the bike shop. I'm actually in need of a bike, so I will be stopping in sometime soon. Those bike trips sound really fun. Not my pace anytime soon, but yeah, I try to get outdoors as much as I can. I have to admit that I am not quite as experienced of a fisherwoman as I would like to be, but that is something I am excited to learn a little bit more on. I actually got my younger brother to move up here for a year this past year. He is flying out today to go live in Alaska for 5 months. So he was a Wintergreen Dockside Lodge guide for the winter season. And is going to be working on a fishing boat in, I believe, just outside of Sitka for 5 months. And I believe he's coming back next winter as well. So it's been really fun to have some family close. I grew up in the Twin Cities area, kind of hopped around from Copeland Center to Nick Grove to Edina, and then actually in Michigan for a year, and then Duluth for 5. So I just kind of keep moving north and bringing family with me. It's really, really special. So,
Did you say what you studied?
I did not. So I went to Michigan for a year for school. I thought I wanted to go into nursing. I did not. And transferred to UMD, where I got a degree in business, specifically in entrepreneurship and economics, which was a lot of fun. It's a small program within the business school there. And I think that I get a chance to really organically use that background at Wintergreen, which is a fun challenge. It's really great.
So while we're at UMD theme, let's bring up Sarah Carroll, who maybe you read it, or who Sophie, who knows? Sarah says she's only going to talk for 2 minutes, so it's our challenge to keep her going.
Hi, I'm Sarah Carroll. I live here in Ely on James Street. I have lived in St. Louis County my entire life. I grew up in a little town called Brookston, which I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Brookston, but it's about 40 miles west of Duluth on Highway 2. Lived there all my life until I was 18 and then moved to Duluth, and I've been in Duluth all my time until I came here. I worked at UMD. I got my degrees there and had a career there for over 20 years in the IT department. We had bought a piece of land up here in 2003, just 10 acres out in the woods, and had built a cabin. Only it's like a garage, but we call it a cabin. That's what we've stayed in. So I was kind of like a weekend warrior for many years. Would just come up here on the weekends and then be in Duluth during the week. Well, then in 2013, I sold my Duluth house because my boys were gone, and who needs a big house? So then anyway, fast forward to 2016, I bought a house in town here in the preparation for retirement, thinking, okay, I don't want to get a mortgage when I'm like at retirement age, because probably that doesn't work. So I'll just get prepared. And then the pandemic came, so I had a home to come to work from home. So I did. And then after all that isolation time of working from home, I retired a year ago, January, because, why not? UMD was trying to get rid of the whole university system was trying to encourage early retirement for people because of the pandemic. And so they offered a buyout, and it was like, oh, might as well take it and go. And so I did. So I've been retired a year, and I'll tell you, this winter is like, oh, I don't know if I never noticed winters before because I was working.
Plus you got those underground tunnels. That you're doing.
Yeah, this was not a good winter. So I'm looking forward to summer. I've joined a few organizations in Ely. I do some stuff at the folk school. I've been a volunteer at the Bear Center since 2011. That's been a big part of my life here in Ely. And go to the library book club. So that's about all I do. I'm kind of a boring retired person. I have 2 sons. One is 30. He lives down by the cities and he's a music teacher. And the other one's 29 and he lives in Denver and he is a solar technician. So and that's about it.
That's a lot.
That's great. How many minutes did I get?
And that's more than 2 minutes. You did great.
You just gotta get a kick sled, then winter will be more fun.
Yeah, except for this year's snow blowing and shoveling, I kind of hurt my hip and now I'm not sure when that's gonna really be fully healed, so. But yeah, kick sled sounded like a good idea.
Any other hobbies?
Pardon?
Any other hobbies?
I like to walk. I walk a lot. I do yoga. I lift weights, just trying to keep some strength up as I get older. And I read a lot. I've learned to watch television, I guess, which isn't such a good thing, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not a winter person, so I don't ski and I don't skate and I don't bike and I don't do all those things that everybody else in Ely seems to do. So
That's all right.
so anyway,
If
that's
people
it.
have trouble with their computer, can they call you?
No.
That's
I
all
would
right.
wipe all that stuff out of my brain.
That's the right answer.
Yeah, although I do have to meet with my former boss tomorrow, so who knows? Yeah,
Oh.
they're still contacting.
Well, I'm sure you had the message too. Looking forward to hearing more about who John and Martha are. Just met them the briefest. I hardly know anything about them, but they're here and they're among us. So come on up, the Flobergs, Floberg. John and Martha. Oh, Martha's Hickner, different last name.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome.
We lived in Ely full time since December. I first came, yeah, we came for winter. I first came to Ely in 1965. With my family, my father called us the short-tail relatives of a family that had a beautiful place on Burnside Lake. And if you've ever been on Burnside Lake, West of Camp Van Vack, there is this place, has several buildings, and there's a giant bell on the lawn. And it's a ship's bell because the owners, Frank Matthews Sr., had been Secretary of the Navy. And when he retired or left the Navy Department, the state of Nebraska, where he was from, gave him the ship's bell. And my father had a vision to get that bell off the ground and hang it properly, because he was a naval officer in the Great War, and that was important. Anyhow, we raised that bell, so it stands there today on the scaffold. But my life took a lot of different turns after that. Marty and I were both physicians in the Twin Cities. We have 5 children. One lives here, Kathleen. She and her husband Mike live on James, and they have a daughter. And we'll be using the lower level of our house as a daycare.
Hey.
Oh, well, so we raised our children in the cities, and they all came up to Widgiewagon, and years and years of Widgiewagon. I think combined our children must have at least 20, maybe more, probably more, both as campers and as counselors. And then Kathleen was the risk manager for Widgiewagon for several years, and just changed her career with her year-old baby, and is starting a daycare, as John said. So much needed in Ely. We wanted to remodel our basement anyway. We have like 2 lower levels, and so we're having it redone with a daycare for however long. Eventually, it might be our basement. We're reserving a small corner where we'll have a place that we can go down and watch TV in the evenings. I don't know what it's going to be like yet to be above a daycare. So. And after they put the drywall in the ceiling, I remembered, oh, I should have had it insulated. But we also spent every year on Birdside Lake for 20 years. And ever since my youngest, our youngest was 3 until she was 23, we came up to Burnside every summer, and always wanted a place, but busy lives. And finally, 5 years ago, we bought a small cabin on Farm Lake, and we got tired of driving back and forth to the cabin all that year. And so when we retired, we thought, why not just move up there? And so we now are on South Ridge Road, just out 21 and 10 acres. And I call it our 15-year project. I've got my own small chainsaw, just a small one, and he's got the big one. And I'm trying to learn about forestry. I'm very interested, love trees. And we love to ski. We met Elton a few years ago. And been to the Birkebeiner several times. And we got a cabin. We thought about Hayward. And our daughter kept saying, well, you might like the winter skiing there. She says, but you're not Hayward people. We said, well, why not? She really wanted us to come here. But so we even looked at a place, and when the woman was selling us, was trying to sell us this place, it was on Round Lake. And we said, well, where do we launch our canoe? And she said, canoe? She said, you don't canoe on this lake. You're going to get a pontoon boat and get out and, drink. And Kathy was right. That was not our town. So, but I was so keen to do it.
When we spent 20 years coming here in the summer, we go to Burnside Lodge with 2 of my sister's families. And so it was about, there were about 12 kids, and the adults and kids would just take care of themselves. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of trips in the Boundary Waters. We were the group in the Boundary Waters that if you were coming up to a portage and you saw us there, you'd rethink your trail. Because we had sleeping bags and garbage bags, and I mean, it was a three-ring circus.
And our girls, by the time they were 8, were doing portages with big packs and already could double carry a canoe. And getting ready for turning the Woody walking.
Yeah.
But I didn't mention, after we decided to move here, I was going through some old family information and found out that my grandmother's cousin was an Elyites, married one of the women that they called in the newspaper article that she was an Ely pioneer. So, and he worked in the mines at Abbott and then became a judge in Virginia. And his son was a lawyer in Ely. So my grandfather's cousin's son, around up until World War II.
What was
So
that name?
the last name was Carey, Carey. And so I haven't found anybody old enough yet that would have known a lawyer in the early 1940s in Ely. So just my relative.
Fascinating. What area of, what kind of physicians?
Yeah. Specialties, what?
John's a neurologist, and he retired from the University of Minnesota just 2 years ago.
Yep.
And for me, family practice, I was with Park Nicollet and Health Partners. Before that, and they merged.
What does a neurologist do?
I got a hip you could look at.
You wouldn't want me to look at your hip. That's for the real doctor. Brain problems, nerve problems.
A lot of those.
Yeah. I'm retired now.
Do you know anything about the start date for the new daycare facility?
We're looking at June. If we can get everything done.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was our ace in the hole for getting people to do work because you can't get contractors to. They're so busy here. Just tell them, we're doing a daycare.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get it done.
True community efforts.
What have you got involved in or enjoyed about the town of Ely?
Well, John did luminaries. And he did luminaries for the Winter Festival.
Oh, yeah.
He made them, so.
Ice
He told
skating.
me he had to volunteer for something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been to explored a lot yet since it's been winter, in the middle of winter, and we're keeping encouraged to play pickleball. We like to bike, we like to canoe, we like to cross country ski, so we like to be out.
And we have a dog who really didn't want to have a leash anymore. So we walked the dog.
10 acres, okay.
And we have a daughter who lives in Alaska, and her husband used to run dogs for Wintergreen, and he ran dogs up in Alaska for several years. And they actually, she and our daughter and her husband have bought a property on Grand McMahon Road, a defunct dairy farm.
Oh,
That's going to be their next project when they decide they've had enough in Alaska.
over there?
It's actually more over that way.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Hey, Jeff, don't leave yet. We got more new Elyites. You thought that was it? Because speaking of Babbitt, here we have Erica Baggy, who just walked in today. And you know, I'm a good arm twister or something, but here she comes. And she has a husband, John, and he would never do this. But you're gonna give it a shot. Thank you, Erica.
Hello, Matthew said, my name is Erica. My husband John and I moved here he moved here in July of last year. I was doing full-time childcare for our great nephew that I had to stay until he started school, so I didn't come until September. We were from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So my husband works from home. I'm not currently working. After stepping out of full-time childcare for the last several years, I kind of needed a break. And so I said, for the first year that I live here, I'm just gonna take some time off and just get to know the area, just get to explore the outdoors. And then winter came and it was very, very cold. But I still managed to get out, I think, every single day. I try to walk or ski or something, snowshoes, something. I like to do all those kinds of things. And so now we've kind of made it through the winter, I think, finally, I hope. And so I don't really know what's next for me. I'm just kind of waiting to see what God has next. I'm kind of just open to whatever comes, trying to meet new people in the area. Because I'm not working, that's difficult. Joined a church in town and have met wonderful people through there. And they're pretty much everybody that I hang out with, besides a few neighbors. I know a few neighbors. And yeah, I'm looking forward to summer and getting out on the lake and kayaking and biking. I wish I could do the trips he was talking about earlier, but that's not me, although I would enjoy it. I have knee issues, so I'm limited to what I can do physically, but yeah, just looking to meet people and get connected in the area. So yeah.
Questions?
What kind of work would you like to do?
Oh, that's a
I mean, or do you even want to go back to work?
Honestly, I love to volunteer. And in the past, I've been kind of a full-time volunteer. I'm kind of blessed. I don't have to work because of our financial situation. And so I really prefer volunteer work, especially long-term, where you get really connected with things. I've done a lot of mission work throughout the years. So kind of hoping that something like that opens up. I love to paint and kind of redo things like that. So I've kind of, I should mention that I do volunteer paint for people, interior only, I don't do exterior, but in Eau Claire, I was kind of known for all the shelters and all the places like that in town that they would call me when they needed painting done. So if you're interested in getting some painting done, I do love to paint. Yes.
The Save the Boundary Waters headquarters needs people to paint
Right now?
right now. Yeah.
All right, great, thank you. Just excited to be here.
Thank you. Where's your place? Where did you move to?
Oh, we live on Bear Island Lake. Yep, so always wanted to be on the water and just something opened up and we thought, we're doing it. We're jumping in. So I think I might have some neighbors I hear.
Yeah, meet those two guys.
So yeah, looking forward to enjoying the lake for sure. So yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm on a roll here. I'm going to introduce somebody who just found out 1 minute ago.
Elton Jack.
Oh, gosh.
There you go.
Okay. So Doreen Wolfe, who we hear, who's pressured by whoever brought her here today, and who tells me that she's got a great story. So. This is a very kind, gentle, accepting crowd. Have no fear. Doreen Wolfe.
Am I in the?
Yep, you're in
I'm
the spot.
okay. I'm not exactly new to Ely. I've got a place on One Pine for about 10 years now, almost 11. This was my first winter up here in a very long time, and it was interesting. I'm from Virginia, Minnesota originally. I left there way back when, and joined the Air Force and spent 27 years just, basically moving around. And then retired in Texas. So I lived in San Antonio for the rest of the time. And then somehow a very dear friend of mine that I grew up with passed away. And I said, there's more time in front or behind me than in front of me. So I've always wanted to live on the lake, and I came up here, and my friend back there I went to high school with, she said, well, I think there's a place on One Pine, you might really. So the rest is history. I bought it, and I've been living, spending time up there. Was gonna spend the winter up there last year, and then the pandemic and that happened and stuff. So like I said, it was an interesting winter. I'm not a real outdoors person. I like to look at it. Have a beautiful view, not that much into, I like indoor things like knitting and reading and binge watching TV and stuff like that. So, but I do love Ely, and it's going to be interesting to get to meet people. I want to find out, is the Taste of Slovenia going to happen this year?
No, I heard that it's not,
Oh.
that's not conclusively from the church, so I'm working on getting confirmation.
Okay, because that's my heritage. So I thought, I went to it a couple of years ago, and I thought I'd like to volunteer to help out this, if they're going to have it. So keep me in mind.
You can
Anyway,
teach
that's basically my,
You
what?
could teach a Slovenian food cooking class. at the
I don't know.
Elyites.
I wish I could. My grandmother made the best pizza in the world, and I just wish I'd learned how, but I never did. So anyway, so
What was your work?
I was in did computers and communications. So yeah, I'm her geek squad over there, my friend back there. But no, I'm whoever that person was. No, I'm with you. I
She did,
don't want to
she
do that
forgot
anymore.
to
So.
mention that she was as a lieutenant colonel.
Well, yeah, I'm proud of my time in the service, but
That was San Antonio?
I retired in San Antonio, yeah. But I had one assignment there. I was actually stationed in Duluth for 4 years.
Oh.
That was quite interesting. So, but I enjoyed that too. So
Is that Travis Air Force Base?
I was never there, but that's in California. I think it might even
Which one
still
is
be
San
open.
Antonio?
The one in San Antonio was Lackland and Randolph, Fort Sam Houston. It's it's military USA basically. So, but yeah, so that's it. That's my story.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
all right, thank you guys.